Welcome back. I had a wonderful request, which I'd like to read to you. Hi, Forrest. Would you ever consider doing a video surrounding hypnosis? I remember you mentioning that it was a light state, and although I notice I can reach it through heart rate variability resonance, it can be hard to recognize. Absolutely. So what I'm going to do is talk about the hypnagogic state and how that is so important for our meditations. We have to go down in order to go up. Before we can access the higher self, we have to begin to integrate with the subconscious, and that means a trance-like state. And this is very important to understand if we're going to understand the process that we are entering into when it comes to brainwaves in meditation. So let's get into it. So first, let's start with the beta brainwave, which on the low end starts at about 15 hertz, and on the high end goes up to about 35 to 38, depending on who you ask. Where does the beta brainwave stop? And above that is gamma. And a lot of times we think in meditation that we'll just go from the beta brainwave, the conscious mind, we'll just go straight up into the superconscious mind. And it's really not possible. What actually happens is we slow down and become more quiet. And everybody knows that, right? Everybody says that. Be still and know. Slow down. Become as the stone. Everybody knows this. We have to slow down. We have to begin the meditation process, and that is a slowing down process. And we know that very, very well. We know exactly how to begin to slow down, and that is the heart rate variability resonant breathing. We use the breath as this humongous handle to create change in the body and the mind. The body slows down, and it acts like a mirror. That slowness reflects back on the mind, and the mind begins to calm automatically. Sometimes we want to reach in, we just want to grab our thoughts and stop them, but it does not work that way. We are straining at that point. We're using the sympathetic system at that point. Doesn't work. We have to follow the process of slowing down the body, which then reflects back on the mind. The mind begins to slow down, and all of this happens very, very easily and gradually as we enter into the heart rate variability resonant breathing. And there's an app. You can use the app, all right? So use the app, use that breathing, and find out how you can enter into meditation very, very simply and very easily. So again, let's begin with the beta brainwave from 15 to 38 hertz. And let's say it's spiking. It's really stressful, and so those brain waves are going to be very high. They're going to spike way up. So you can see this spiking here in the picture, showing a beta brainwave, a conscious mind in profound stress. And now let's take that picture and represent it as it comes off of the left side of the head and the right side of the head. So the brain waves will come out of both sides of the skull, and so we want to represent that in our picture. And now we can see that this beta brainwave is in total stress, and it is spiking out to the sides. And down below, the subconscious brain waves are not present. All of the focus of the attention is in the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind is completely ignored at this point. And the superconscious mind as well is completely ignored. And so we have this word that's thrown around every once in a while, ignorance, right? And isn't that the state that we are in when we're caught in this superconscious, stressed out brainwave, and we're ignoring ignorance, we are ignoring everything else, aren't we? We're not conscious of anything else which is going on inside of us. We're just locked into this conscious mind in a stress state. Now, we're going to enter into the heart rate variability resonance. We're going to sit down and sit very still. And so the body begins to calm down, and that calmness seeps into the mind itself. And when this happens, the subconscious brainwaves begin to come online. They were completely gone, weren't they? In a normal, stressed out, conscious mind state, running around like a chicken with our heads cut off. When we're in that state, those subconscious brainwaves are not there. But now we're slowing down, and the subconscious brainwaves begin to appear. Now, they're not integrated, okay? If they were to integrate, one brainwave would round into another. And this is something that only right now, only the mind mirror will show you, because they stack the brainwaves appropriately. Only the mind mirror, I mean, it's kind of a miracle that they ever figured this out. So if you want to study this, I'm going to have some links below. Maxwell Cade, Anna Wise, they were at the forefront of understanding these brainwaves. And they would go out with their technology, and they would find psychics, and they would find healers, and they would find Zen monks, and they would find Taoist monks. And every single time they plugged them in, they found this brainwave pattern where the slower brainwaves were coming online. They were not ignored, right? So it was actually Maxwell Cade's prodigy, Anna Wise. She said, look at this. All of these people are showing this mind which has all of the slower brainwaves. And they said, this, we're going to call it the awakened mind. And this is the beginning place for meditation. This is the beginning place where we begin to notice the subconscious in the body. As one of my students beautifully said, it was as if a new world had opened up inside of me. That means he's understanding and beginning to recognize the inside feeling of his own body, feeling a little bit of the movement of the subconscious through the body. And when you feel that energy moving through the body, you are noticing the subconscious movements and directions that are taking place continuously through the body. Respiration, digestion, elimination, all of these, your immune system, all of these processes are regulated by the subconscious, and the subconscious is sending signals through the body constantly. And the yogi will feel those, and we call this kundalini, right? Yogis call this kundalini. But it is the subconscious movement through the body, and you are noticing it because those subconscious brain waves are coming online. So people will call this state the hypnagogic state. In hypnosis, they call it trance. And Lahiri Mashaya would talk about the heart not opening. That means the feeling, right? The feeling opens up, and you feel the energy running through you. They're all talking about a similar thing happening where these subconscious brainwaves come online. And once these subconscious brainwaves have arrived, now we have the chance that we can get in touch with the gamma brainwaves. And so here you see the subconscious brainwaves have come online. They have not integrated yet, but they are beginning to reflect the higher self. They are beginning to reflect the gamma brainwaves. That means joy, that means bliss, that means the expansive states are there above, and we can begin to reflect that knowing and intelligence that comes through the gamma brainwave. We can begin to reflect it. We can't see it face to face just yet, because we're just beginning, right? We're just beginning to put those subconscious brainwaves online. This huge swath of ourselves that we were ignoring is now coming online, and that's the awakened mind. And then we have the gamma appearing for the first time to us. We get messages, we get downloads for the very first time because all of these subconscious brainwaves are coming online. And now you were asking about hypnosis. This is the place we can give ourselves very good suggestions. I have a training. It's the third training. It's called Talking to the Higher Self. And this is all about getting this access and then using that access to create transformation in ourselves, and then learning, taking it one step further and connecting to the higher self in a dualistic way, getting prayers answered. And it's really, really magical because it's a really wonderful progression to go through and understand how to connect into the subconscious, how to make suggestions, how to create transformation. There's a little exercise in there, the inner child exercise, and it's so profound because when you go in and you make a change with your inner child, you give them a feeling and a suggestion, which is the suggestion of love and healing. And when you do that with yourself and you feel the transformation, the impact that it has on your life and your personality is instantaneous. You come out and you're a totally different person. It might not feel humongous, but it's a big deal because every inch that you change with the inner child will change you profoundly. And this follows the rule that we have been told. The more you clean up inside, the better life gets. But all of this begins when we begin to slow down. We begin to get in touch with those slower brain waves. And that makes all of this possible. It makes the access to the higher self, the reflecting of the higher self possible, and it makes access to our own subconscious for healing and clearing out. The kahuna of Hawaii would say, they would always say, go down and integrate all of the islands and then go up to the goddess. That is how they said it. Go down and integrate everything, then go up into the higher self. So all we had to do to access all of this and begin this process was to get into the heart rate variability resonance, begin to slow down the body. It gets reflected back on the mind. The mind begins to slow. And when that mind begins to slow, you will see that those beta brainwaves go way down. As the subconscious comes online, the beta brainwaves will begin to shrink. And so that little bit of calmness, that little bit of clarity tells you all of that is coming online. If you feel energy running through the body, if you're aware of the 4 proofs, you're beginning to get in touch with the subconscious. And so those 4 proofs are an exercise to pay attention to the body, pay attention to the subconscious, clean it out, and recognize the transformation that is taking place because you are slowing down. And the more that you do that, the more it will reflect back on your mind. And you'll feel that slowness. And sometimes people will feel that slowness and it will worry them. As long as you don't actually fall asleep, it's okay. Fuzziness in meditation is okay because you're learning to find that balance and you're getting in touch with the slower brain waves, and you've got to acclimatize yourself to that. And as you spend more time with them, it will get easier and easier, and the balance between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind will get easier and easier over time, so long as you're not profoundly tired. And that balance will eventually allow the clarity that comes through in the gamma brainwave. And that is beyond the conscious mind. And so you'll notice all of that through time. But in the beginning, it might feel a little bit fuzzy. And some people will reject that. They think they're going backwards. And you're not. You're not going backwards. You're learning to acclimatize yourself to the subconscious brainwaves and get comfortable with them and balance them. And then pass through into the higher self, into the gamma. And that is the profound clarity. Somebody told me it was like HD. It was so clear. Perfect example. It's like you're running an old computer and suddenly you've got HD. It's just miraculous. That's the feeling of gamma. And when you feel that, oh my God, go in that direction. That's what you want. That's really what you want. But first we had to acclimatize ourselves and feel a little bit of those slower brain waves. It will feel a little bit fuzzy. We don't care. That's totally okay. As long as we don't fall asleep, that's a little too far. And so we're learning. We're acclimatizing ourselves. We're getting used to, and we're actually merging and integrating with the subconscious. There's a story from Anna Wise, or maybe it was Maxwell Cade, and they were talking about a healer that they had gone to. And they would notice that the process that the healer was doing is they would put themselves in the awakened mind, and then they would call on the higher self to come down and heal. And so they were drawing in this healing energy, but they had to be in the awakened mind in order for this process to begin. And they would put their hands on the person that had asked for the healing. And as they put their hands on the person, it would create a transference, and that person would begin to manifest the same awakened mind brainwaves. And this healer was a very good healer. They watched this happen all the time. She would go into the awakened mind. She'd put her hands on the other person. They would go into the awakened mind. Now they could receive the energy from the higher self, right? This magnitude higher of energy would come down and begin the healing process. But they had to get out of the stress state. They had to get out of the sympathetic system. They had to get into a slower brainwave state and allow this healing to take place. They had to get into the awakened mind, right? And so that was this process of healing. And this one gentleman was not healing, and the healer said, well, there's something going wrong. I think he is resisting the process. And they monitored his brainwaves, and he'd begin to go into the awakened mind, and then he'd reject it. Then he'd begin to go into the awakened mind, and then he'd reject it. And they asked him, what's going on? And he said, well, I keep feeling as if my mind is fuzzy, and I can't allow that. For 5 minutes? For 10 minutes? It's healing. It's your healing. This is what you came for. But he couldn't do it. He rejected it. And sometimes that's what we do in meditation. We get into that fuzzy state. We don't understand the process we're going through, and we reject the fuzziness instead of embracing it, because we want to eventually balance and merge with those subconscious brainwaves to allow more of the higher self to come through. So the whole secret is the low idle state. The whole secret is the heart rate variability resonance, sitting very still, and the 4 proofs. That's the whole secret. That's the beginning. And you will then begin to notice that you slow down. And as you are slowing down, the beta brainwaves are shrinking. The subconscious is coming online. It's a little hard to notice, but it's there. Now I've given you the suggestion. It will be easier and easier to notice this process. So I hope that you love this. I hope you will check out those books by Maxwell Cade and Anna Wise. They're really amazing, some of my favorites. And I hope you will check out the 3rd training, because it's really valuable to know that progression. It teaches a dualistic process, but it's using exactly the parts of the brain that we need for the deepest non-dual state in meditation. So it's leading us exactly in the right direction. We're getting stronger and stronger. We're developing this subconscious connection, which will then allow this higher self connection. Very, very powerful stuff. I hope you love this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you next time.